when they're young, do we expect the child to know your personal space?
No, not when they're young.
No, that's something you have to teach and develop, right?
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. It's important to develop some of these things so early. That way, that's like if we saw somebody on the train, right? He's baiting your personal space, and they're just yelling or just singing so loud. You would think, now, if it was just you there and you wouldn't do that, you may have the urge to do that. But a normal person would say,
Normal.
"Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, my man. I didn't mean to be in your personal space," right? Or if I threw dirt on you, or if I hit you, if I spat on you, and I lied to you, something. A normal person would say, "That was wrong, man. I shouldn't do that." That's why we can look at people on the bus, and if they do that, and say they must got schizophrenic, or because that's not normal. He just screaming and yelling. Now that's not that's something mental.
Mm.
That's something off. They're not acting in a normal manner.
Now,
Is
with that being said, real quick, now just as that in that example, is it fair to, and I don't like using the word judge, but have an opinion on that type of person and say that's not, that might not be normal, but we don't know if that's their personality or just a characteristic of maybe a product of their environment or medicine that threw them off or PTSD. They were once normal and now not. So even when we're talking the difference between a personality and characteristics, um, how can you be, such a good judge of character versus a good judge of personality? How can you,
Well, this is
how can
why
you
it's
say
so
that?
important. This is why it's so important for people like you and others to have this type of outlet, so you can see it from the perspective, scientifically speaking, and spiritually sound, right? Because awareness of mental health, awareness of what's really happening with a person, can give you better understanding. My people perish, or they get ignorant, or they say something stupid, or they judge, or they because they lack knowledge, right?
Mm, of
We
course.
have an understanding of what's going on, and we can see things different, so we know how to respond to what it really is,
Mm,
right?
now
Now,
we going
now,
into spiritually sound. It sounds like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because you
yeah.
got to
So
have that right seed planted, right?
yes, you got to have that right. So, of course,
Okay.
God's going to give us explanations of things that happen with us in a natural realm,
Mm,
right?
right.
I mean, he just don't give it to us, and you can't explain the cells of my skin and how the calcium in my teeth works, and the calcium the bones make blood. So we just look and say, oh, it just works. No, he has an explanation of how all these things happen, and scientifically speaking, there is some explanations from studies where people will do group conditions, or they look at certain patterns of behaviors. They assess symptoms, certain researches. Yeah, so you can explain. Well, this is what happens with these people, right? Having
Mm,
that knowledge, going back to what you're saying, having that knowledge